Hi Cody, Mrs. Olson here. So here on this page, I have pulled up the first source analysis, or the source that you're going to be using for the source analysis on this screen right here. So 2.2.1, Illustrating Science. It is always a good idea to read this information because it gives you context. It helps you to understand who wrote it, why they wrote it, and what was going on in the world when they created it. Okay, so we have to go to the second page. And that's the same thing here. This is more information to read that helps you to understand the source. And then on the third page of this one, read this stuff too. On the third page of this one, that's where we get our source, okay? So you have to click into the slide gallery and look at each of these 4 pictures. So double click on it. Now you don't necessarily have to read this. This is all in Latin. So you need to scroll down just a tad. Let me make my screen a little bit bigger. You have to scroll down just a tad and read this part. So this is a moon sketch done by Galileo in 1610, and it says that he included this sketch of the moon in his book, which means roughly starry messenger. Okay? So what we're doing right now is becoming familiar with the source. The second picture is also a moon sketch by Galileo, and this says that he's showing the different features of the surface of the moon, like the craters, right? And the third image, this is Cellarius's illustration of the universe. In 1661, the astronomer Andreas Cellarius sketched this model of the universe. Okay? And there is one last picture. Kind of looks like a bug, huh? Without reading anything. And this says that in 1665, scientist Robert Hooke used a microscope to sketch this illustration of a flea, which he published in Micrographia, the first illustrated book on microscopy. So what we have for this source are 4 different pictures, sketches, pieces of artwork by scientists, okay? So I'm going to minimize this and go to our source analysis. And so where it says identify, what type of source is this? And in parentheses I wrote, is it a painting, recording, photograph, architecture, journal, book, etc.? Well, what are they? They are all sketches from different scientists, okay? So that's what you would write here. Now, who created this primary source and when? So let's go back to the source. And you can actually, instead of opening up all 4 of these, you can go down here and write, so these 2 are by the same person, Galileo Galilei, Cellarius, and Hooke. So I'm going to minimize this. So who created this primary source and when? It is Galileo, Cellarius, and Hooke. And they created these in the 1600s. I remember that from looking at the info earlier. What was going on in the world, the country, the region, or the locality when it was created. So here in parentheses I tell you, always read the information on the first page to understand the source's content. Now if you want to do an additional search, you are more than welcome to do that. So we're going to go back to Apex. We're going to go back to this page and go to page 1. And this is talking about understanding the scientific method, okay? So it doesn't necessarily tell us what was going on in the world at that time, but the second page does, okay? And so we can say that these scientists are influenced by Greek civilization and the Roman Empire. And then you probably want to use some of this information here. Now, Cody, you don't want to copy. You want to talk about, put these in your own words, talk about what people were used to believing, okay, from the Greek civilization and the Roman Empire. Okay. Now, connections. What prior connection do you have of this subject? Now, you can almost put anything here as long as it connects to the source. So, for example, what could you tell me? What do you already know about the moon? What do you know about astronomy or space? What could you say about the solar system or the sun? What do you know about fleas? What do you know about drawing? Any of those ideas would work for this question here, connecting information to the actual source, okay? And what's the point of view of this source? So I said here, think about who created it and why they did so, okay? So let's pull that up again. Who created this source? That was Galileo. Is there a point of view? Not really a point of view. So the way that you can answer that is Galileo was looking at the moon from the earth and sketching what he saw from the earth. That was his point of view. You could answer that similarly if you wanted to talk about Cellarius or Robert Hooke, the guy who drew this about the flea, in that they are looking at the image, so the moon or the flea, from wherever they were standing or sitting on Earth. Okay? And the last one, explain how this source contributes to our understanding of history. And you always want to use details from the source. So, going back, how does this help us understand history? Well, you're going to come at this from the idea that these scientists, the way that they understood the world helps us to understand the world now. So you could click on, say, this first picture, and you could use examples about the craters of the moon and connect that to how we understand the moon and what it does now. I hope that helps go through each of the questions. If you need any help or have any questions on anything, just make sure that you ask. Yeah, I hope that helped you, Cody. Let me know if I can help you. Bye!